Great. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Who's Irish here? That's all? I thought most of us were. I did my ancestry DNA a while back. I'm 52% Irish. I knew I was some, but I didn't know I was that much. And you know, the Irish are storytellers, right? But so are spiritual teachers. Most of the great enduring spiritual traditions have been handed down to us through story. In Hawaii, for example, in the native language, you don't ask people, who are you? You ask, where did you come from? And they'll recite a whole story of their lineage down from ancient times to now. So it's the way we keep things alive, right? Through storytelling. So today I'm going to tell the story of love in a different way. You know, this month I've been using Treat Yourself to Life book, but I'm only going to quote one thing from that book today. I'm using something else, which I'll share with you in a moment. I'm going to begin with a quote, though, from Raymond Charles Barker. We have the books in the bookstore. They came in. If you're interested in this teaching deeply, you need this book. Treat Yourself to Life is one of the best ones ever written on the subject of how to change your mind and change your life. Okay, so he said, people look on the word love as either a religious term or one involving sex. They fail to realize their whole yearning for a full and rich life is the inner impulsion of love within them, seeking release through them as its logical outlet. I can't sneeze. No, stop. I stopped it. See how powerful I am? I'm going to do that again. Our whole yearning for a full and rich life is the inner impulsion of love within us, seeking release through us as its logical outlet, unquote. So the yearning for love and joy is the energy of God within us seeking outlet, and I want to start with that. Now, we say, and most religions do these days, God is love, yes? But God is also the power that makes all things new. Therefore, love is the power that makes all things new. Anybody want some newness in their life? I hope so. We should always be on the edge of something new, right? Something that allows us to express more love and joy and peace and power in the world. More supply, more prosperity, more peace. Okay, so love is the power that makes all things new, and you can prove it for yourself by dropping a resistance to the impulse to love, which means to be compassionate and caring and one with, to seek difference and love diversity. That's part of the energy of love is inclusiveness, right? All right, so if you drop the resistance, you see how quickly your life can change. Now, I think there should be a warning label on love, which says, do not open unless you are really ready for change. I'm talking about real love, spiritual love, the power that makes all things new. Do not play with this. It's fire, right? In fact, in the Hindu tradition, they say, don't ask God to change your life unless you really mean it. Because it is a demand made upon this pure intelligence that we all live in and draw our very breath from. It responds to us by corresponding to our energy. So are we eager to be changed at depth? Love will do it, the spiritual love we're talking about today. Someone who really knew about love was the Persian poet Hafez. Hafez lived in the 1300s, about 100 years after Rumi, who is my other favorite Persian poet. And he lived at the same time that Chaucer lived in England. They were both writing at the same time. It's said that Hafez wrote about 5,000 poems, but only about 600 survive to this day, and we're so glad to have them. Like Rumi, he referred to God as the beloved or the friend or the guest, but mostly he referred to God as love. And he knew full well that God was within, and yet in order to take poetic license, because he wrote poetry, he often talked as if God were somewhere else, but he knew full well God was within. So we want to remember when we listen to his words that he's taken some poetic license with it. Okay, so you'll like this one because, you know, Hafez, like Kabir and Rumi, they had amazing senses of humor. And many of these wonderful poems make me laugh out loud. All right, so get ready. He said, love wants to reach out and manhandle us. If you had the courage, and these are his words, if you had the courage and could give the beloved his choice, some nights he would just drag you around the room by your hair. That's the power that makes all things new. And I'm not being facetious about this. If we don't feel some trepidation when our desire begins to manifest, whether we haven't really changed and we haven't really opened up to the possibility, we're getting ready to repeat again. Every time you back up, you're repeating, right? All right, so we should be a little on the edge and a little bit in trepidation about changing a depth and having love have its way with us, all right? So he means that love changes us, knocks us off our former stance. Love moves things or gets them moving. It is an energy. It is alive, and it's in us. And so when we make a demand such as, love, have your way with me, we're actually asking ourselves to be available to this spirit within, to this energy within. We're asking ourselves to drop our little psychological safety nets, and we have a whole bunch of them, right? All right, so the power that makes all things new isn't interested in our safety nets. It's interested in making all things new. So it shakes us up, and if not, it isn't new. So the question for all of us is, how willing are we to have some things made new? Let's look at the different areas of our life. It could be our money area. It could be our work area. It could be our relationships with our children, our parents, our friends, our significant other. Could they use some newness? Is there an old idea we could drop? Yes. Would love improve things? Let's all say yes. Yes. Yeah, because it would. You know, Emmett Fox said, there's nothing love cannot heal. He's talking about the big love, spiritual love, God within love. Not talking about romance. Okay, so are we willing to drop some old ideas, some cherished beliefs, and some defenses? Hafez said, love sometimes gets tired of speaking sweetly and wants to rip to shreds all your erroneous notions of truth, the ones that make you fight within yourself, dear one, and with others. Love wants to hold us upside down and shake all the nonsense out. I sometimes wish I could do that with myself and you. Let's just hold ourselves up down and let all the nonsense fall out. You know, that's what spiritual practice really is, isn't it? Yes. It's shaking things up, shaking things loose so that they fall away from us if they don't belong with us, if they're not part of our greater truth. Yeah, that's absolutely what it's all about. To shake the nonsense out, we use the tools of the trade: meditation, spiritual mind treatment, and there's others. There's ecstatic dance, there's music, there's chanting. There are ways to unlock the inner self so that what doesn't belong with the wholeness of our being falls out or comes up to the surface where we can kick it out, right? Okay. So if our beliefs are not producing more joy and vitality and love in our personal experience, then we're hanging on to something nonsensical, something that doesn't make spiritual sense, some ideas that don't make sense in the face of our spiritual truth. So we talked about last week lack and wealth. Lack and poverty do not make sense in the light of the spiritual truth. Lack and poverty are nonsense when you consider the universe and its fabulous wealth and abundance and constant producing, replicating, multiplying, restoring again and again and again. We see it in nature everywhere. Lack and poverty are ideas that do not belong with a spiritualized mind, and culturally they do not belong with us either. Some people have fallen prey to them unwittingly because they were born into a culture that believes lack and poverty are normal. They're not. They're the aberration, okay? They're nonsense. Loneliness does not make sense in a being such as you and myself, who are capable of extending our love out into the world in new ways and seeing it reflected back to us. There's always a place for us. There's always a place for you to put your love. There's always a place for you to participate. There's always a place to show up and reveal this beautiful being that you are. Always. Loneliness doesn't make sense in a being that is a download of spirit. That's what we are, right? Yes. We are a personification of a beautiful being that the world calls God. All right? Anger and resentments are nonsense. They don't make sense in a mind that is quite capable of simply shifting into compassion. I know you've all done it. I've done it. In this first instance, we're mad, we're resentful, we're angry, and then however we did it, we just stopped. And we looked at the one we were blaming for our feelings, and we realized we're looking at spirit reflected back. We're looking at another human. We're looking at a person who may not know the wholeness of their being. That's compassion, right? So we see through the behavior to the wholeness behind it. We are quite capable of doing that just like that. It's not a long process to get rid of this nonsense and let this stuff shake out. It's a choice. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying it is possible. All right? It's simple, but not necessarily easy if we're resisting the idea. If we're getting something out of anger, if we're getting something out of resentment, making ourselves, that's our safety net. It makes us feel safe, right? It's like a wall we put around ourselves. Let's tear them down. All the time, I did this talk 30 years ago, you're either building walls or bridges. That's what we're doing psychologically and emotionally and in every way. So, love is partly the perception of oneness with. That's what love is. It's the feeling of being one with. But in this time-space dimension, it demands a sense of separateness in order to live here on planet Earth. We have to pretend that we're separate. But love shatters that reality. You remember being so in love that you just felt one with everything? And that's a normal state, right? But even while it's necessary in the physical world, how we see the other is different if love is alive in us. We see it as other, but it's different. And we allow for the otherness and the diversity, but it feels like we're looking at something that's reflection of us. It just feels different. Hafiz said, God wants to manhandle us, lock us inside of a tiny room with himself, and practice his drop kick. It reminds me of Joseph Campbell. I love Joseph Campbell and those wonderful conversations with Bill Moyer. And he was talking about God as the power that makes all things new in the context of love. And he said, yes, God is love, but God is horrific. And he said, think about volcanoes, and think about hurricanes and cosmic comets racing around and shooting stars. God is horrific in the sense of power. And this is the power we're using all the time. And if it isn't transformed into love, it becomes something else. And it becomes a psychological, egotistical power that never does anybody any good. It just stirs up trouble, causes us trouble, right? So if we are deeply wanting a change in our life, a change in our relationship, or a new kind of relationship that we've never known before, then a drop kick seems appropriate. To me, we can't have a new experience using the same consciousness that created the current one or the former one, right? So anyone here interested in experiencing relationship in a new way, like you've never known it before, something really juicy? something really fun, something that brings out the sparkle and the best in you. And it can be done with the person you're with now, if we're both willing to let love have its way with us, to let love move us out of our safety nets into just being vulnerable and open and available to oneness with one another. So we often want the easiest way out, right? But making things new is not for sissies. Making things new is not for the weak. We need some spiritual courage, some adventurous spirit, some delight in having a beginner's mind. So let's ask ourselves today, how eager am I to actually elevate my life to higher levels of living? How eager? Eagerness to me is like a child. They're just eager to live everything. They're eager to discover and to get out there, like run outside and play and meet new people. And have we lost that? Can we get it back? Yeah, it's an aspect of love. It's an aspect of our true nature to constantly be discovering. Hafiz said, again referring to God as love, the power that makes all things new. When we hear he is in such a drunken, playful mood, most everyone I know quickly pats their bags and hightails it out of town. I love that reference to a benign, playful power that is intimately involved with each one of us, that is completely aware of being each one of us, and that never teaches lessons, never smites us down, never operates from a negative energy, but is always attempting to reveal more love through us. And sometimes it can knock us off our fixed perception. And it should, right? But he says, sometimes when people get close to it, they pack their bags and leave town. In other words, they withdraw, they pull back. They say, no, I'll be I like the familiar, even if it's hard on me, even if it's work. I'm familiar with strife and struggle. I can handle it. Anybody remember being like that when maybe at some point in your life where I remember when I was first divorced and had no money and I had 2 beautiful children and 3 jobs. It was a lot of fun. I became so resourceful that I got really good at doing without. And I was proud of myself, right? That's a positive spin on a very limiting situation. And actually, that was right before I came into this teaching. And I came into this teaching and heard, no, that's exactly what you shouldn't be doing. It's time to allow the inner spirit to come through you and show you how you can live on a higher level. And it was the beginning. And we're always at that beginning place because there's always more for us to express. My favorite affirmation is love, have your way with me, but that is serious business. Don't ask for it unless you're really ready to be made new. But let me ask you this. What is there to fear when the only thing we can be made into is the image and likeness of God, which is love? We're already the image and likeness of God as a personification and individualization. So if we say, I want to be changed at depth, are we going to become some other being? No, we're going to become more godlike, or more loving, or more joyful. More like the image and likeness of this universal source that we call God. So there's nothing to fear with change. I cultivate it, I love it, and I'm always shocked at people who resist change. I'm not to make them bad, but I think, gee, it's so much more liberating to welcome change. Life is so much more fun when you welcome change, and when you're free to see what's coming down the road, something new, something different, a new way to be together. You know, that's nature. That's what life is all about, is the constant resurfacing of this power in new forms and new ways of being. We should be a part of that. That's the dance we're actually doing. If we're in partnership with our spiritual source, which is God, which is love, we should be dancing to its tune. And its tune is, let's make all things new. And that doesn't mean we lose what was. It means it gets expanded. It evolves. It becomes more. There's a serious awakening going on planet Earth right now. especially through people in this teaching. But this teaching has had a profound effect on our subjective mind. And we are moving from being merely Homo sapiens to being Homo universalis. We are becoming universal beings in our outlook, in our perception. We are dropping the old ways that say we were born in original sin and that we're worms of the dust and that we're just no damn good. We're dropping all of that and we're claiming our true heritage, that we are one with a universal power that made this universe out of itself and continues to make the universe out of itself. And when we think and when we act and when we choose, we are using that power. I love Marianne Williamson, who said, when we use our mind to create, we're using the same power that created the universe. Same power. It's in us to individualize. So let's don't ask for anything to be made new unless we're really willing to be made new. But let's know there's nothing to fear, because we will just become more of the best of us, the rest of us, the not yet expressed of us. So to be changed at depth is to become more like God, more like love, more like the one we have dreamed of coming to us. You know, when people think about love, they often think of some person showing up in their life. But that person is us. The yearning, the person we're looking for is us. We're looking to feel the rapture of being alive, to feel the joy of being aware and available to love, and then expressing it. So let's ask ourselves today, where could I use more love in my life? Where do I need to make things new? What do I have to let go of for that to happen? And what do I have to embrace? What do I need to know? There's never anything to do first. There's always something to know. So let's go into the knowing state right now with our spiritual mind treatment. As we take in the joy of living as the presence of spirit within us. This aliveness is forever present. It never withdraws, never withholds, never leaves. It is constantly coming forth in only one direction, from the invisible to the visible. The universe is the evidence of it, the proof of it, the effect of it. And each one of us is a much loved, precious expression of it. We are, as Meister Eckhart said, the only begotten. Spirit is forever begetting the only begotten. That is you. That is me. That is all sentient life. And as such, we are the way for it to be seen and known in this beautiful earth dimension. We begin with love, always. Love, the power that makes all things new. Could we use more love in our life? So this morning, let's be real. Let's dedicate the rest of our time on planet Earth to uncovering, unveiling, discovering, expressing the spiritual love that is already alive in us, just trying to come out. Let's give it things to do. Let's give it music to play and art to make and friendships to have, connections to create. Let's give love something big to do, like peace on earth. Like an end to all the isms that separate us. Let's give love its due. There is nothing it cannot make whole again. So I know today, for each one of us in this room, we are here, something has led us here today. We are here because we are ready to drop the safety nets, to drop the resistances, to stop the blaming game and claim our spiritual wholeness, our spiritual inheritance. This is real. And the world needs it. the world needs each one of us. And so let's be joyfully present today, thankful that we have a glimpse of this truth, and that right now today, within ourselves, we can make the change. The lyric to a song a friend of mine wrote, "Together we shall make the change. Though near or far, we make the change." We all make the change. The world we seek, that we're yearning for, happens by means of us. No way else. And so this teaching is a great gift. Let's spread the word. Let's act as if it were so. Let's be and not seem. So we give ourselves a moment to let these words find their way into the deeper levels of our consciousness, where they meet what we already know. I am the love of God made real. My life is part of a divine plan. I am necessary to the whole. And so I give permission to love, spiritual love, to have its way with me and to show up as every relationship in my life, beginning right now. In love, joy, peace, and gratitude, we let it be, we claim it as so, and we anchor it together by simply saying, "And so it is." Amen.